We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Thursday, October 10th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Cheska Dainho.
Happy 10-10.
Happy 10-10. And 임산부였어.
Happy 10th.
Happy
Thursday. Yeah, happy Thursday.
Now, both are here to speak
Thank you.
those in their 20s and 30s. Now, as usual, we're going to start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items trending online. Netflix's cooking competition show Culinary Class Wars has become the first Netflix Korea reality series to hold the top spot on the platform's non-English TV show chart for 3 consecutive weeks. From September 30th to October 6th, the show drew in 4 million views, calculated by dividing the total viewing hours by the series' total running time. The 12-episode series wrapped up on Tuesday. Switching over to sports, the South Korean men's national football team will play against Jordan tonight in the 2026 World Cup qualifiers, but Tottenham Hotspur's Son Heung-min has been withdrawn from the team due to a hamstring injury. Filling in as captain will be Bayern Munich defender Kim Min-jae. Kim is set to lead the 26-man squad both in tonight's game, which kicks off at 11 p.m. Korea time at the Amman International Stadium in Jordan, and in the match against Iraq next Tuesday in Yongin. Moving on, and staying with sports, English football player Jesse Lingard, who plays for FC Seoul in the K-League, has been selected as a witness for a National Assembly audit next week. According to the National Assembly's Public Administration and Security Committee, it sent a summons for Lingard to appear as a witness at the upcoming Seoul City audit scheduled to take place at City Hall on October 15th. Lingard's selection as a witness was prompted by a request from the main opposition Democratic Party lawmaker Lee Sung-gun, who sought Lingard's opinion on the condition of the pitch at Seoul World Cup Stadium. Recently, the stadium's grass condition has become a major topic in domestic football committees. So could you provide more details on that, Sang-yo?
Yeah, in fact, so the soccer fans did file a complaint that the grass condition in the soccer stadium is bad, and they also insisted that the Korea Facilities Corporation should be audited for that matter. In fact, the soccer players also mentioned about these bad conditions in the stadium, and one of them it was Jesse Lingard, who's from the England Premier League. After the match on September 29th, Lingard said in an interview that at the EPL, players didn't really have to care much about the ground condition, and they can solely focus on the match. But here at Korea, he said that players have to be aware of the grass condition before they pass the ball to other players. And Captain Son Heung-min also pointed out that soccer players with great techniques are now facing difficulties because of these bad grass conditions. So as you mentioned, Lingard is planned to participate as a witness during the day of the audit, but for now it's unclear whether he will actually show up on the day.
So we'll have to see whether he does attend the audit, which is scheduled for October 15th once again. And it's not just actually players. There's been a lot of criticism and frustration from the football fan community here in Korea. So please tell us more about that, and what are your thoughts on this, Cheska?
Yeah, so South Korea unfortunately does not have a lot of large capacity stadiums, so a number of concerts, both K-pop or foreign performances, take place in sports stadium. If you think about, the Madison Square Garden of Manhattan or Wimbledon Stadium, so the problem really occurs after hosting such a large number of crowd. The grass condition is
because they step on it.
Exactly, because they have seats on the ground as well. Now, which subsequently, as Sang-hyuk mentioned, can really have detrimental effect on the actual sports game and the performances of the players. And Sonny, the current national team captain, also mentioned the comments about the damaged conditions. So now, when concerts are being held, the artists are mandated to actually protect the grass condition and will have to pay a fine to restore the grass should it be damaged. And I really think, given that we can't, constantly build stadiums for the sake of hosting these concerts, I do hope that both the artists, respect the conditions of the grass so that the players and the artists can both enjoy the performances as well.
So there kind of needs some sort of compromise,
I
right?
absolutely think so, yeah.
And we'll bring you further updates here on NewsGen regarding this topic in the near future. And that was our news feed for this Thursday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Take a look at the screen to find out more.
Today is Pregnant Women's Day. Here in South Korea, a day dedicated to raising awareness and showing support for expectant mothers. Marking this occasion, today on NewsGen, We're going to discuss what it's like to be pregnant and live as an expectant mother in Korea.
Right, so we brought this topic today because it's Pregnant Women's Day here in Korea. So for those unfamiliar with this day, Cheska, could you tell us a bit more about what this day is about?
Yeah, so there was a reason that I opened today's episode saying 10-10. It is 10-10, but thanks to today's episode, I actually too got to learn about this beautiful day that we're going to talk about, which is designated for all Korean mothers and pregnant women out there. It is a legal anniversary that was established 19 years ago, back in 2005, and the number 10 is very, very significant for multiple reasons, as we said, 10-10, as Hanga will explain in a little bit more. It is a day to not only celebrate future mothers, but more importantly, raise social awareness and even change how we view pregnant women. It is even more significant today as South Korea is experiencing the lowest birth rate. So it is a day to think about how we can better respect and protect pregnant mothers all around. I heard that local governments sometimes hold very special events and even offer promotional sales on this particular day. And I have some friends who are future mothers, and I think the sales are pretty exciting for them because they have to buy a lot of supplies.
Because the babies grow so fast.
Yes, yeah, and I also heard that it's very costly too.
Right, so it's definitely a meaningful day and a very helpful day for expecting mothers and mothers as well. Now, Sang-hyuk, to you, please tell us the answer. Why was October 10th specifically designated as
10-10. Okay, so I'm not sure whether this is actually true, but first of all, October in the farming industry is the month of harvest. So throughout the year, farmers plant the seeds and grow the crops, and they finally gain their achievements at this time of the year. And as for the mothers, they have to carry the babies for 10 months, and then they can finally give the birth to the baby. Now, if you look at this number 10, 10, it kind of resembles a pregnant woman with a full stomach. So there is a myth that actually the 10th of October was designated as a day of pregnant women because the number 10 actually represents the pregnant women themselves.
I see. So October 10th, 10-10 is Pregnant Women's Day in Korea once again. And as Cheska and Sang-hyuk both mentioned, it's a day to raise awareness and also raise support for expectant mothers and future mothers as well. So now let's kind of talk about how much support these expectant mothers are receiving in Korea. So are there any relevant stats on this?
Yeah, and I think it's very important to know the numbers too, because as we all know, pregnancy does take a huge toll on not just women's body, but also their mind.
Right.
So I've heard from several of my own friends who go through so much to give birth. So I think it is an absolute necessity that we implement measures to protect and provide for them in areas that we can. So now let's take a look at the screen to find out the areas of consideration that can help these women the most. Now, when asked the question of, on a daily setting, what are the most needed areas of consideration for pregnant women, they responded as the following. Now, almost 1/3 of them said priority seating on public transportation, followed by really just courtesy of not smoking when pregnant women are around, as it can be detrimental to both the mother and the baby, and reserved parking spots, as it is very difficult for them to walk long distance. Personally, they all made a lot of sense to me.
Right.
And I really thought they weren't asking for too much at all. And I think they're very simple and basic things that I think we can all provide as citizens to protect and support pregnant women.
And especially among the data you mentioned, priority seating for pregnant women was one of the things that expectant mothers feel that is the most needed support during their pregnancy. But this priority seating, which is being provided by public transportation here in Korea, actually sparked a long debate, right, Sang-hyuk?
Yeah, actually the priority seating regulation was first adopted 10 years ago, which was a long time, but it has always been provoking controversies since then because many people insist that whether they should leave the seat vacant all the time, especially during rush hours. And during the beginning of pregnancy, you really can't tell whether a woman is pregnant or not just by looking at the appearance because their stomach tends to be thin and slimmer. So at the time, there were some people who claim that they will not give up their cysts by just looking at the women and believing that they are actually not pregnant, even though they were at the initial stage of pregnancy. But now pregnant women can receive special badge that represents that they are in fact under pregnancy. So even if a woman is at an initial phase of pregnancy, by wearing this badge, it shows that she is pregnant and which means that we have to give the seats for those women. So because there have been a lot of controversies and issues regarding the priority seats, some people even claim that we should actually install special sensors to detect whether a person is pregnant or not. I don't know how it works.
Yeah,
but
I wonder how the mechanism
Yeah,
goes.
but I think it's kind of like scanning the badge,
like a
to
card?
badge to the scanner or something. Yeah.
Right. So this has become a really heated debate that there are even new ideas coming up, such as like a sensor that the pregnant woman could kind of show that they're pregnant to be seated in the priority seating. So I want to also ask our panelists, where do you stand on this debate?
When Sang-hyuk mentioned sensor, I think it really disheartens me a little bit that we've come to a point in humanity where we can't just give up the seat when a pregnant woman asks someone to do so. I think that's just really sad. I actually have a true episode of my very close friend who unfortunately and so sadly had a negative experience in the subway while she was pregnant. She even had those pink badges that we just talked about when you're pregnant. But I think people made really harsh comments about giving up the seats. However, I want to believe the statistics that reported that almost 63% of pregnant women do or did have experienced positive considerations from the public. And I honestly cannot understand why there is such a debate surrounding such a policy. Like we mentioned, pregnancy affects both your body and mind. And it isn't just the weight, it puts pressure on your organs, your blood pressure, your hormones. So it is remarkably obvious to provide them just a sitting on a public subway, and adding on to the fact that it's remarkably difficult and dangerous to drive as you get to the later stages of your trimester.
Right. This is definitely a period when you people should be more considerate of the expected mothers. What about you, Sang-hyuk?
Well, if you look at the official disclosed documents by the Seoul City government, actually you can leave the seats vacant when the pregnant woman is not actually riding the subway, but when they ride the subway, you have to give the seats to the pregnant women. And for me, I think it's just because I'm a man, but I feel kind of awkward to actually sit on the priority seat.
Pink seat,
Yeah,
right?
the pink seat, even though when the pregnant women are not around, so I tend to just leave the seat vacant all the time. So I think for now, we can leave the seat empty, especially when it's all crowded and busy during the rush hours. But I think we should try to give the seats to women, even if they do not wear the badges and if they insist that they are actually pregnant. Because like Chaska mentioned, when a woman is under pregnancy, they do face a lot of difficulties and obstacles in the daily lives. I've heard that it feels like wearing a bowling ball around your waist when you're pregnant.
It gets heavier and heavier until you reach the last stage of your pregnancy. Right. So we've heard from both of our panelists. Now we asked the same question to our viewers to listen to their opinions. So the question was whether they believe priority seating for pregnant women should always be left empty and available. So let's take a look at what some of them have to say. So the survey was conducted between October 4th to 8th, and people who said yes, they should be kept empty, 65%, and no, 35%. So we can see that a little more of our viewers are gearing towards being the priority seating for pregnant women should be kept empty. So let's take a look at two opinions from our viewers. Fear God Kojo 1621 says, a big yes. Some occupants may not give up the seat even if one should appear. Carrying a baby for 9 months isn't a joke unless you've not been with a pregnant woman before. But on the other hand, LEC 4154 says, no, you just move proactively if one appears. How do you know if she's pregnant or not? So we can see where both opinions are coming from. Now, until now, we've mostly focused on the public transportation aspect, but this is not all. What other support systems or benefits are being provided to expectant mothers here in Korea?
We discussed some great policies today, but I must say, work. It all comes down to career. I do actually believe that, having gone through several episodes here with News Gen, that Korea is working very, very hard and doing actually remarkably well in trying to change or upgrade its policy on pregnancy, such as giving people more flexibility in working hours and providing benefits and even like government subsidies and such. But I still think we can always do better. Providing off days for both parents so that they can focus on raising the child, I think could really help. And I must say this with certain firmness because nowadays so many of my friends have already chosen careers over children. And unless there are very clear and supportive policies or changes that are made to ensure that women can have both career and children, I cannot really see many young women choosing to have children at the risk of losing what they could truly love doing.
And I think this is especially more important nowadays because a lot of women are working when compared to the past, right?
Yes, and they've worked so hard to build something that they fear that they might lose it if there isn't enough protection in the society to provide for them.
Right. So career-wise support measures, is there anything more you'd like to add, Sang-yeon?
Yeah, so as Korea is now spiraling down to demographic crisis, both government and company are trying to give incentives to pregnant women. So if a woman is pregnant, she can get around 1 million Korean won, that is about $800 for public relief, and 700,000 Korean won, which is about $500 in some regions for using public transportation. Also, pregnant women can get a special discount when they apply for car insurance.
Right. So until now, we've looked into some support measures that South Korea is providing for expectant mothers. Now, for a more lively discussion, for more on what it's like to go through pregnancy in Korea, we're going to invite a millennial who recently experienced it firsthand right after this break. Right, so today we're joined by a very special guest. Regular viewers on NewsGen will know who she is. She is Niall Song, a millennial mom and former panelist of NewsGen, and she went through her pregnancy here in Korea. Welcome back to the show, Niall.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. I went through my pregnancy not only here in Korea, but at Arirang as well.
Right. We all remember.
What an honor.
Right, so welcome back, Niall. So our first question for you is, what kind of support did you receive during your pregnancy, and is there anything that particularly stood out to you?
You guys actually mentioned a lot of them already. One iconic thing about being a pregnant woman here in Korea are these pink badges. I brought it so you can. I wonder, it's blurring it out. Oh, there it is. So it's to show that you're pregnant in, public transportations, to sit in those pink seats. And you guys have mentioned the conflicts between actually having reserved the seats for the pregnant women. For the most part, I've had pretty good experiences with it. There have been cases where, there were actually men who boldly sat there, but mostly older people. But when people pointed out that I was pregnant and they saw my handy dandy badge, they would move for me. So also on the aspect of financial aid, I didn't pay any hospital bills until the birth, and even the birth was aided with the government money. There's a lot of vouchers that helped cover for birth and postpartum care center. So I think as a whole, I got around 3.5 million-ish of cash or voucher help.
Now, you mentioned it a little bit, but how was it living as an expectant mother during your pregnancy in Korea compared to other countries in terms of social perception and also actual support that you received?
Right. Due to the low birth rate, we talk about this a lot. I did get a lot of compliments and praise from the older generation, whether it be random strangers in the elevator or even, taxi drivers. They would call me a patriot, which I was, I'm just living my life, but now I'm a patriot. It's almost revered here in Korea. Oh, yeah, these are my pregnancy pictures.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you. And people compliment you on how good you look, what you do. And I was 30 years old during the pregnancy, so that was considered fairly young. But I do have a lot of friends from North America and other parts of the world who've had children in their early 20s and mid 20s, and that wasn't considered too strange or even too young. So I think there's kind of the perception of, being a very young mother in Korea when in reality it's not that young compared to the average of the world. Yeah.
Okay, so I think you are a patriot indeed. Okay, so Niall, from your point of view, what additional support measures do you think we can have here in Korea for pregnant mothers?
I know the topic on pregnancy is, it's the hot topic today, obviously, because it's the Pregnant Women's Day. But I must stress that pregnancy leads to birth and often a child. So while there are many things that we can improve on pregnancy and the environment as well, the reason why a lot of people hesitate to start a pregnancy to start with, it has to do with the birthing process and raising a child. So I want to stress that being able to provide our children with emotionally and physically safe environment and as well as equal opportunities for good education is a huge part that needs to be resolved, whether it be for the concerns of the pregnant woman or people who are considering having children.
Definitely. All right. Thank you, Niall, for your time today. We really appreciate it. And once again, congratulations on your new family member.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So ending off our discussion today, I think all of what we talked about comes down to one fundamental question. Why is it so important for us or the society as a whole to become considerate of expectant mothers and raising a child and just overall raising awareness about pregnancy and childbirth?
Yeah. I mean, Niall gave such great comments, but I think if we look at in the past, unfortunately, the society did not have the capacity to provide or protect for pregnant women. So if we think back to our grandmothers and mothers' generation, what we've perceived wasn't always rosy pink.
Right.
So seeing them suffer too much doesn't always give us the most positive image about having childbirth. But that can always change, and I think education is always key. As Niall talked about, it's not just about the giving of the birth. There's a saying that it takes a village to raise a child, and pregnancy is only the beginning. So I really think there should be a lot of education, both for boys and girls, about the responsibility and the collaborative effort that it takes to literally raise a human being.
And I think that's the starting step of painting a rosier picture for the future generation.
Exactly, yes. I do really hope that new generation can change that,
Right. What about you, Sang-yeon?
Yeah, so like Chaska mentioned, pregnancy itself can be physically burdening and also mentally unstable because due to hormone changes, women can get depression. So I think it's the responsibility of the society to protect pregnant women from any other inconveniences that they can face as they live their daily lives. And like we all said, that happy mothers, so will the children who will be born.
Yes.
Right. So hope we can foster an environment where mothers are happy and babies are happy as well. And that's all we have for today. But Newsden will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Cheska Dainha.
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
Thank you. And Im Sang-yeon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.